Most financial advisors follow the industry playbook. Elite advisors choose a different path. I'm Sten Morgan. Welcome to the Elite Financial Advisor Podcast, where top advisors share the strategies, mindsets, and the stories behind building a better business, adding more value, and the courage to grow through resistance. Because becoming an elite advisor is not about working harder and longer. It's about choosing a better path. I've realized going from just like a solo advisor, which I could just kind of do whatever I wanted each day to make the results happen. I could reinvent it every day. I can say different things. And then I had team members like support staff. I'm like, oh, we actually need a system for them to like repeat and build efficiencies.
I got some advice that, basically said, hey, you got to be a salesperson to kind of succeed in this space. That's not how I viewed myself. I didn't really want to do that or be that. So I just kind of went on to other stuff. I have the great fortune of being at a firm that has a team approach and with people that I learn from. Every time I come into the office, I'm learning something. You don't get that if you're just kind of like running solo, doing your own thing. So finding a team and being open with that team and allowing them to help you, I think is super important.
Welcome to this episode of the Elite Advisor Podcast. Today we're going to be hanging out with Justin Lewis. Justin is a partner at Verum Wealth Partners. Really cool, creative firm that uses a team approach. What I love about his story is that he was a career changer. I get questions all the time, LinkedIn messages about people that are interested in getting into this career and they're not really sure how to do it. What's the path? What should they know ahead of time? So Justin's going to give us his story and a deep dive and even his advice if you're thinking about getting into the career on how to get successful as fast as possible. Let's hang out with Justin. Justin, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Sten. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
You bet. We get to have a lot of different kinds of guests on the podcast, which I enjoy, but I love hanging out with other advisors. One, learning how you guys are doing it, what's different. I think there's a bar that a lot of advisors reach, and then there's some that exceed that bar and get great results from it. So, Justin, you are a partner at Verum Partners. How long have you been an advisor?
Sten, I have been an advisor and in the wealth management space for about 10 years now, coming up on 10 a little bit later this year. And I was a career changer. So we can unpack that at some point if you want. But 10 years is pretty cool.
It is. No, I'd love to start there. I was just at an event in Milwaukee. And every time I do a training event or speaking event, there's someone always comes up and says, "Then I've just started in this business." And I'm like, doesn't look like this is your first job though. Like you've lived some life, you have a story behind that. And I think the bravery to do that, there's probably an upper hand to starting early when you don't have a lot of obligations. You can kind of learn and grind it out. And eventually maybe when there's kids, family, and other obligations, you have some momentum there.
Yeah.
So I'd love kind of your story on what triggered it. How did it feel? What allowed you to become successful to stay in the business? Because I think a lot of career changers have the skill set, they have the desire, but it just doesn't seem to work out.
Yeah. It's a fun story. I'm super happy to have ended up here. I was always kind of interested in, this idea of helping people with money from an early age. I always kind of liked people. I think I was an undiagnosed extrovert, kind of like coming out of college, just because of life. That's how it happened. And I got advice that when I was kind of trying to figure out what to do, I got some advice that, basically said, hey, you got to be a salesperson to kind of succeed in this space. And it's not how I viewed myself. I didn't really want to do that or be that. So I just kind of went on to other stuff. And I, did some work at a startup technology company. We got acquired. I was doing marketing work. And that was kind of the most interesting, was like this corporate marketing work. But there was always kind of in the back of my head, I never was like, felt like I had landed on what I wanted to do or who I wanted to be. I did some great stuff. It was fun, met lots of great people. And then when I was coming back to figure out what do I want to be, it's like, do I go get my MBA? What do I want to do? And I had a conversation that was really eye-opening, and it was with someone that considered themselves more of a financial planner than a financial advisor. And that's where my eyes were open to this idea of being a CFP, being more like consultative in your approach and having this, kind of helping people sort of mindset behind it all. And the advice I got was like, all right, well, go take some CFP courses and see if you like it. So kind of like nights and weekends, went back, did the CFP, just some stuff on the CFP, decided I was all in. and I had an opportunity to join a team as kind of like a support person. And you're doing the grunt work and you're figuring it out and you're learning, and the opportunity was there to grow with that, and has worked out really well.
Nice. What was the kind of some of the head trash or resistance around the career change? I'm going to try it, but maybe I shouldn't have done this. You can get kind of as a peek into that.
Yeah, changing careers is really hard. So we moved cities across the country. We had just had our first kid. So there's like a lot of life changes going on. So I've kind of felt like now or never, let's do it. And all the things that like become second nature when you've been in a certain industry for a while, you know the people, you know how to do things. You're like relearning all that. And so it's like a whole nother language. It took me a while to, I think, rebuild kind of like the confidence to feel like I could, give advice to people. And it just takes time to like, I don't know, grow and learn and be comfortable. Time solves a lot of that, and experience solves a lot of that. But I would say, yeah, just like, I don't know, having to relearn stuff and feeling like you're starting over is not fun. I love it when I hear people thinking about career changing and I tell them you can totally do it. I also tell them it's not for everyone.
Sure. What was on some of those days you're moving across the country? I mean, is it like, did I make the right choice? What did I do to my family? Like, for in your story, because I've heard some people, it's just like there's days where it's just like, I just made the worst decision. This is never going to work. Who was I to think I could do this? And then days where they get this one breakthrough, and it's a pretty volatile experience at times.
Yeah. I don't know that there was like one particular breakthrough, but I had good advice and coaching along the way. Like just the idea of staying in it for enough time so that you are known and you have the confidence. And when the opportunities come your way, you know kind of what to do with them. And I think, thinking back to a few years ago when I first started kind of like building up clients that were like seeking me out and seeking our team out, and growing with that, because my role was not one of like, thankfully, go out, eat what you kill. A lot of people have built practices that way. I don't think I ever was interested in doing that. I got to kind of like step into a junior role and grow with it. But I think at that point, when you start to like see people and meet people that want to work with you, it's super validating. You kind of, there's no switch, there's no one thing, but over time you realize, hey, I've kind of learned, I've come a long way, I've built some confidence, and
Yeah.
it's a good place to be.
Yeah, I had Ed Slott on the podcast recently, and he said that you need to build competence because competence leads to confidence. And I was like, I look at my story, I was like, yeah, there's some of that. Like, hey, somebody said yes. Hey, I think I kind of know what I'm doing. And then that momentum started to pick up.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's a good quote. I think the other element of that is like you can wait too long for competence or try to build up too much competence and like lean on, all right, I got to learn some more technical stuff before I can really give advice. And you know, one of the things that I was, I think, probably really eye opening for me was, I don't know how many years ago this was, but 5 years ago, and we were talking to a prospective client, and this client was very wealthy, probably over 100 million of net worth. And the questions that they were asking us just hit me kind of like, I don't know, with some perspective, is I realized, hey, these are the same questions that all of our other clients are asking, the same questions that our $1 million clients are asking. And it's just like, do I have enough? How am I going to make this all work? And um, from that point, I think I realized that when you have enough competence, you have that confidence, you can really lean into the human element a lot, and
Mm,
that's what people need. Now, you need a lot of good technical stuff, kind of behind you. You need the skills. You need to be able to do a good job, and we
yeah.
could talk a lot about that. But at the end of the day, it's a human, right? And
Yeah.
they
Good
have
point.
human questions.
Yeah. Then you kind of guess you're going down the path of like communication skills, emotional intelligence. Um, and for all of our super technical brothers and sisters listening, like you need it, but at some point it's like the thing you become so smart, yet you're not helping anybody. And so how are you? I think as an advisor, we have to do both to some degree. It's like, can we communicate and connect, but can we also deliver on what we're saying?
Yeah, yeah. We talk about this idea of curiosity. We've been unpacking that recently, and a colleague of mine, Walker Shelton, recommended a book called The Curious Mind by Brian Glazer, and that's kind of like was on the reading list to start the year. Really good, and I paired that with Atomic Habits by James Clear, and that was
Oh
like
yeah.
a great 1-2 punch. So, like, if anyone out there is kind of trying to think of, all right, how can I supercharge my work as a younger advisor, as a growing advisor. Those are not advisory based books, but those two combined, I think, are are super
Oh,
valuable. But yeah, this idea of curiosity, and some people are naturally technically curious, and then some people are naturally like people curious. And
that's good.
both have strengths. Both are those folks are needed in our work as advisors. And if you're one or the other, you kind of have to learn how to build the other side of the equation up.
Yeah, I do find that most advisors have a superpower of some kind, but you do have to flex some other muscles, I think, to operate in this business to some degree.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
to the career changer, if you were talking to somebody that was thinking about getting into this business, so somebody's listening here, we get people listening to the podcast who are like, "Hey, I heard about this. I'm thinking about being an advisor," and I get LinkedIn messages all the time. You got into the business. You did not have to kind of go out and just prospect right away, which is like a push you into the deep end kind of approach.
Yeah.
How would you coach up somebody thinking about career changing?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I really like the advice that I got, and that's kind of like look at the CFP material, maybe take a course, read a book, just see if you like that, because that's really important and helpful. It's like if you like that information and you like helping people, you can make it happen. You can make it work. That was another, I think, piece of advice I was told. It's like I was doubting whether I could do it, and I was told, you know, if you want to, you can do it, right? Like you have the capabilities, you have the abilities. So that's where I would start, is just kind of like exploring those pieces. And as you're kind of like getting into the space and you're getting into the career, there are a couple of things I think are super important, and it's really hard to do when you're early, kind of in your development as an advisor. And that's to define yourself in a more narrow focus in terms of like, who do you want to be as an advisor? Who do you want to work with? Who do you want to serve? That's going to be super helpful, because it feels like you need to be open to everything, and like, whoever wants to work with me, I want to work with them. And yeah, there are points in your career where that's the case, but the more specific you can speak to a particular person, and the more thought you've put into kind of like how you're going to engage with that person, you're going to
Yeah,
become just so much more attractive to the person that has those needs. And I think that's one thing I probably would have done earlier, and I still need to do more of that now, is
sure.
just like, better define who those people are that you want to spend time with and who you want to work with.
Yeah, that's a good word. So what's going on at Verum Partners right now? What's your guys' superpower? How would you explain your firm and how you guys approach the marketplace?
Yeah, yeah. So, to answer that question, I'll give you a little bit of background. So Verum's been around for coming up on 7 years now, and we just hit a milestone at the end of last year of just over $1 billion in assets under management.
Nice.
So we're super excited about that. We've got a lot of momentum. We're kind of at the spot where you know you feel almost like you have a tiger by the tail a little bit, and it's super exciting. You're starting to show up on like some lists that the industry puts together for growing firms, and when you don't apply for them and you show up, that's really cool. So we're in a great spot. We're super excited about that. But kind of like going back a little bit, I've been with the firm for close to 3 years now, and we had some experience with the founders of the firm in past work. So they started this. We kind of like watched them from our spot, and then our team a few years ago basically decided, for a variety of reasons, that we wanted a great new long-term home, and did a search and kind of landed here. So there's a few things about Verum and kind of like the DNA of the firm that really attracted us, and that we wanted to lean into and to benefit from and to help build and contribute towards. Um, and I think that gets to like the heart of the answer to the question of like, what's Fairham about? What are we doing? And what makes us tick? So, we have these goals, right? This vision for our firm. We want to raise the bar in wealth management. We have goals for the size that we want to be and this growth that we want to do. And the way that we're approaching it is trying to implement a team-based approach to our advice. So what that looks like is we've got multiple advisors in the room for almost every meeting, and there's always like one advisor that's assigned to the client, just because, hey, you got to have the relationship, the responsibility that has to
Mm,
stop somewhere with someone. But
sure.
there's a lot of value in multiple voices in the room. So team-based
Yeah.
approach with folks. We really emphasize not having organizational silos. Coming out of uh, past organizational structures where it's eat what you kill, and you can be working with people that you like, but you're not really doing stuff to help each other. You're kind of all doing your own thing.
Yeah.
That's been something that we've worked pretty hard
That.
to kind of rethink and kind of recast in our model.
How many advisors are a part of the overall group? Verum.
Yeah, we have 10 advisors. We're 17 people. We're hiring folks. We're growing on our
Great.
investment team. We're growing on our advisory team, and plan to continue doing that. So, yeah.
That's exciting. So when you guys have the team approach, do you task different advisors to become like an expert in a certain thing? Like, hey, if you're going to work in this group, you got to bring something unique, or how are you guys approaching that?
Yeah, yeah. So we are trying to grow up in that area. We naturally have like different skill sets across the team. So like some advisors do great work with board folks, and some advisors with executive comp. They lean into the details of all that in a great way. We have probably the biggest single group of people that hire us right now are some form of finance professional, whether it's investment, asset management, that are attracted to our process, where we're trying to present a sophisticated investment and planning process that's approachable, and they get to that spot where they need someone to help them wrap their arms around their situation. So yeah, each advisor kind of like naturally has developed techniques and tendencies, but I would say the theme across the board is as one of the person being really important, and the process for the planning covering as many different pieces of someone's financial life as we can, whether
Hmm.
it's estate planning conversations. We'll help with insurance. We're fee only. That's something else that really sets us apart. So we don't do products, but we will help put people in the right spots through our partners. Um, yeah. So the cool thing about the team too is like as new clients come in the door, sometimes it's a natural fit. Like they knew someone and they're just going to continue working with them. Sometimes it's a question that we put to the group. It's like, hey, you know,
Hmm.
who has interest in working with this profile? Like who has the capacity right now to take this family on? Who would this be a good fit for? And we'll just assign them to a team, and that's kind of where that client then lives. And yeah, it's pretty cool.
So clients are coming to Verum, not necessarily one person.
That is the
And
goal. Yes, and we have had some of that. We are trying to grow that. Yeah, we're trying to grow that. I mean, there's the human person is always involved with the relationship. But if I kind of like think about the process that we have, I don't know if it's a good time to jump into that a little bit. But
sure, yeah.
yeah, the process of as you meet people and they show some interest, you're having a conversation to just kind of like understand what's going on. So we call it a first handshake. You're getting to meet them and introduce and decide like, hey, does it make sense for us to continue the conversation? And then from there we go to what we call an honest look, and we basically treat folks as a client for the day. We'll get their information ahead of time, and we'll do some prep with the team, and we'll say, hey, come, let's sit down for an hour, hour and a half, and let's dive into everything that we're seeing here. We'll share our observations and kind of our findings and our recommendations, and then we'll just jointly discuss what would it look like to work together. And we frame it as, hey, this is a mutual decision, right? Just because you want to work with us doesn't necessarily mean this is going to be a fit, right? Both sides kind of have to say, yeah, this makes sense, which is nice. It gives us a chance to make sure that person is going to be a good fit for our team, for our
Mm.
expertise, has a situation that's warranted for for what we're doing. The next phase is really cool. So we do a set the vision meeting, and this is probably something that I think was the most unique in my experience coming to Verum. The idea of setting the numbers aside and sitting down and having a conversation. We have a room that has like no conference table, couches, chairs. Set the numbers aside, and we tell couples, or if it's an individual, we'll send them questions to look at ahead of time. We tell them to go on a money date, have these conversations, and come ready to just unpack these different things that are important to you, whether it's goals around legacy, your concerns, work, leisure, what you do for fun. And we use that as the jumping off point for understanding the client as a person, as a human, and doing really effective, good planning that can then circle back to these things that we all talked about and, they shared with us kind of early on. And it's helpful making decisions down the road, being
I
able to
like that.
look back at this and say, hey, you said this was a higher priority than this. So is that changing? It is. Okay, great. Let's adjust it. Oh, it's not. All right. Well, let's use that to help us make a decision here with the resources that we have.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, going
How,
back to the,
we're-
you guys call the first step the honest look.
yeah, yeah. First handshake, honest look, and then when they kind of have decided to start working with us, we jump into what we call set the vision.
Perfect. So an honest look, I think what came up in me when you said that is I think a lot of advisors are, hi, my name is Sten. Good to meet you. You don't know anything about me. I don't really know you, but let's just see if this thing works out. Transfer your money.
Yeah,
And to me, you've left that like a trust gap there. It's like
yeah,
you've proven nothing to me. Like
yes,
I don't know you versus
yes,
like what kind of experience can you give them? And part of what we do at Legacy is like, hey, I'm going to give you some ideas and I'm going to give you a sample of kind of our process. And my hope is before you even have to say yes, I've proven to you that we're a good fit or that we can add value as opposed to just asking you to take that leap of faith.
yeah, yeah. It works really well for us, and yeah, showing that value, building confidence in your competence that you have, and clearly displaying that and demonstrating that. Um, it seems to be really helpful. I know there's a lot of debate in the industry out there around like, do you give away free work, and like how much do you do before they're a client, and you can be passionate about that one way or the other, and it can work for you. This just works really well for us.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I was with a group in Milwaukee earlier this week, and this topic came up of like I give that away for free, and it seems to be working out for me. And I'm not opposed to that, but I do challenge them like if you're doing it for free because you don't think you're valuable or you're scared to ask for a fee of some kind, that's a problem.
Yeah.
You're doing it because you know your value and you're running a super healthy practice in business, and then you choose to be generous. I'm all for that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the ability to help people wherever they're at, if you desire to and need to and want to, like, that's great. It's fantastic. I think having a clear process is frees us up a ton, because it's like we're all on the same page about what we're going to do for a prospective client when they come in the door. It's going to be this meeting. Like, if it goes beyond that and they're asking all these questions, asking us to do work, it's like that's just not really how we operate, and we'll have a conversation around that. But it's clearly defined for us, and it's clearly defined for them too. It's like, hey, there's a decision point. We did our thing. You know, it's up to you to kind of decide what you want to do with that.
Yeah, one thing I've realized going from just like a solo advisor, it's which I could just kind of do whatever I wanted each day to make the results happen. I could reinvent it every day. I can say different things. And then I add team members like support staff. I'm like, oh, we actually need a system for them to like repeat and build efficiencies. And then as we add advisors, I'm like, oh, it can't just be in Sten's head anymore. We actually need to define what is meeting one's purpose, what's meeting
Yeah,
two. Once they say yes, what happens next? And so we've been pushed into this world of like, oh, this has to be repeatable. And I actually have to be able to like give somebody like a step by step guide. And so now I have to like extract it from my head. And it's a great exercise.
yeah, man, that is like the secret sauce right there for this type of work. And that's something I personally feel like I've been pushed to grow in a ton. And a big reason why we were attracted to kind of working with the team at Verum, and kudos to them to have the vision to kind of like start things with this mindset from the beginning. But yeah, that idea of like a process and the team, I have had the great fortune to have always been a part of a fantastic team. And it was a team of three advisors, and we worked closely together and we just did all the stuff. And coming here and kind of like learning to expand that trust in my colleagues beyond just like the immediate couple of folks that I'm working with every day has been fantastic. And the processes are what allow you to do that, right? And it
Yeah.
may sound boring, it may not sound super cool or like, the fun thing that you want to go and build out all this stuff, but man, that's what allows like, our client partner team to just get a ton of stuff done for clients, regardless of who's bringing that work in, and our investment team to kind of keep portfolios where they should be. Yeah, it's great. It's great, but it's not easy to get to that point. It's a lot of hard work.
Yeah. And so now you, as a career changer, have hit a stride to where you're probably not questioning each day now, am I going to be in this business? Am I going to make enough money? So you have
Yeah.
some space to breathe, to dream, and make your process better, go up market with clients. As you look back now over these years since the career change, um, what are some of the biggest lessons or encouragement you would have? Because I'm glad you mentioned that, and that's part of your story. Because I've gotten this multiple times over the last couple of weeks of I'm a career changer. I don't know if this is going to work out yet. Obviously, hard work's important. Was there any part of your story you're like being a career changer actually helped me be a better advisor, or do you think it was mainly kind of an obstacle?
Yeah, I think it's like more of an obstacle in your head than it ultimately is if you've decided you're convinced that you want to do it and you want to get after it. Now there are some models that you can get into that are more difficult to succeed in than others. So I'll talk on that. I'll speak to that in just a moment. But I think yeah, the first barrier is like it's in your head, so you can do it.
Hmm.
Um, and I think aligning yourself with people, with a team around you in some form or fashion is probably the biggest thing that you can do. I know you've got, this network of advisors and coaching and work that you do. So something like that's fantastic. I have the great fortune of being at a firm that has a team approach and with people that I learn from. Every time I come into the office, I'm learning something, right? I mean, like right now, there's a lot of conversations around AI and tools and what you're doing. And it's like, we'll walk down the hall and we'll blow each other's minds with like this new thing that we discovered that can happen. And it's like you don't get that if you're just kind of like running solo, doing your own thing. So
Yeah.
finding a team and being open with that team and allowing them to help you, I think is super important. Then speaking to the model, right? I mean, lots of models that you can get into, but if you're new and growing and you can get into a place where they've combined planning deeply into their process and kind of like see what the future is bringing, then yeah, I think that you're going to be more likely to succeed.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, this can be a lonely business for sure. And there's just different seasons of my career where I was like, man, I'm part of a big firm. I love the camaraderie, but I don't feel like they're pushing planning as much as I want. And so it's like I bounced around earlier in my career because I was like, oh, I'm trying to find the right place to be. In hindsight, I don't think I needed to move that much. I think I probably could have just done really well where I was. It was kind of the shiny object thing. Um, but man, every time I left, I think I underestimated like the man. There were some cool people I was working with, and it was enjoyable to bounce ideas off each other and encourage each other when days were hard and celebrate when things were going well. So yeah, for everybody listening right now, if you're in a spot where you're like, this is lonely and hard, again, like our coaching community, you can join us and you can get community there. But there's something about joining a team, especially if you're a career changer new to the business, that can be, kind of a rocket pad for a career.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And there's like this evolution too of firms kind of like figuring this out, and it's kind of like different in each region of the country, like how far they've come in these models. We're in Charlotte. There's not a lot of folks that are in the kind of fee only model in Charlotte at an independent RA. There's a lot of banks, and there's a lot of more traditional firms. So I know there are some cities where there are a lot of firms, right? That are looking for talent and hiring talent and young and hungry people, and they want to train them up, and grow them. Talent's a huge thing for us. I mentioned we're hiring folks, hiring advisors. Our model is one where you've got your lead advisors, your senior advisors, but really important to the success in the long term future is your associate advisor role. Really,
Yeah.
in an apprenticeship model, right, where they're in as many meetings as they can be. They're learning how to do this stuff, how to talk to clients, how to layer the competence and confidence together, depending on kind of like which one is their strong suit. So when you bring those folks in, like the goal is not to just keep them as an associate and get as much work out of them for as long as possible. The
Yeah.
goal is for them to be lead advisors as quickly as possible, so that as folks come in the door and want to work with Verum, we've got talent and people that are great and can take care of them.
Yeah, I remember I was talking to Michael Kitsis about recruiting, and I was like, man, I'm just looking for like this 4 to 5 year advisor that kind of knows they want to be in the business. They're fully licensed up, and then they want to come join a team. And he's like,
Yep.
we all want that person. Like that person's either like starting their team. He's like, you have to find people and have a path for them to grow and develop. And I resisted that because I was like, am I a leader? Am I good at training people? But if I just found somebody that could come in tomorrow and start serving clients, like, wouldn't that be a dream? And I think there are people that can hit the ground running, but I still think the company has some responsibility of we have a path for you to become successful. Um,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
after I stopped fighting that and he called me out on it, I was like, all right. And then so now we have like a 2-year path, like where you come in, you learn, you train, you're in meetings. And at the end
Love
of
that.
2 years, it's like you could stay and support a book of business, or our goal is to say, how can you become a lead in some way on
Love
some
that.
clients? 2 years, is not a short period of time. It does fly by, but I think hey, and this is what happened to me. Welcome to the business. Call your friends and family. Good luck.
Yeah.
That's not really a gift to give somebody.
Yeah. And you're not really equipping this person then to take care of the clients that, I mean, you're going to care about in a way that you want them to be if you're doing that. So the 2 years is awesome. I think regardless of the length of time, having the expectations for people too is huge. It's like they know where they're headed and the organization is doing what it needs and what it takes to kind of like get them to move forward. That's not an easy thing. It takes like work. It's not like plug and play. All right, you're a person. Let's go. It takes
Sure.
work on both sides. So,
Okay.
yeah, 2 years. That's a great program. I love that.
Yeah. Justin, man, I'm excited for you and for everything Veram's doing. We were connected by a mutual buddy, and he was like, you got to talk to Justin, and you guys are doing some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, Stan. Well, thanks for having me on. A lot of fun to talk about the space, and just excited for folks out there that are finding this and exploring what it looks like to be an advisor. I mean, I think about this often. Just the need is out there. People need what we do, and they need good people. So, love that you're doing this and building up the talent space.
Thanks, brother. We'll talk soon.